It started with a simple letter typed neatly, signed in blue ink by Sergeant Rachel Bradley, a 28-year-old Army nutrition officer stationed at Catterick Garrison in North Yorkshire. The letter wasn't official. It wasn't political. It was personal. Your Royal Highness, it began, I challenge you to try what our brave soldiers eat every morning. Not at a royal banquet, not for photographs, just you sitting with us like one of the troops. Rachel had written it after a particularly long day developing nutrition plans for soldiers training in harsh conditions. It had been a week of rain, mud, and exhaustion. After watching Private James Mackenzie joke that the beef and potato ration tasted like punishment in a packet, Rachel had laughed and thought, I wonder what Princess Diana would say if she tasted this. What she didn't expect was a phone call 3 days later. This is Kensington Palace, a warm voice said. Her Royal Highness read your letter and has a question. What's for breakfast? The next morning, Catterick Garrison was buzzing with excitement. Royal protection officers arrived, quietly scouting the base. Soldiers whispered in corridors, hardly believing the news. Nobody could believe it. Princess Diana was really coming, but Rachel stayed focused. She had no idea how the princess would react, but one thing was certain, she'd be served the same food her troops ate in the field. No catering, no special treatment, no scripts, just a standard British Army ration pack, a heating tablet, and a folding chair next to the soldiers. Rachel stood at the mess hall entrance as military vehicles rolled past. She straightened her uniform and thought, well, she asked for it, tomorrow everything would change. The royal convoy arrived at Catterick Garrison at precisely 7 a.m. on a crisp Yorkshire morning. Soldiers lined the parade ground, standing at attention as Princess Diana stepped out of the Range Rover. She wasn't in a formal outfit today. She wore a simple cream sweater, dark trousers, and practical boots. No media circus, just a few aides, protection officers, and genuine curiosity in her eyes. Sergeant Rachel Bradley stood waiting, hands clasped behind her back, trying to calm her nerves. Princess Diana walked up to her with that famous warm smile. You're the brave soul who invited me to breakfast, she said. I like courage. Rachel saluted respectfully. Welcome to Catterick, Your Royal Highness. Your table is ready, though I use the term loosely. Diana laughed. I didn't come for fine china. As they walked toward the mess hall, soldiers peered out from windows and doorways, astonished to see her so relaxed and casual. Some still couldn't believe this was real. Inside the hall, a simple metal table sat with 6 brown ration packs stacked beside it. A few young soldiers, carefully selected by Rachel, waited nervously in their seats. Diana sat beside Private James Mackenzie, 19, who looked like he might faint from anxiety. She patted his arm gently. You look like you've already been through boot camp twice today. That broke the tension instantly. Nervous laughter filled the room. Rachel stepped forward with a grin. Right then, Your Royal Highness, here are your options. Beef and potato stew, chicken curry, or what we affectionately call mystery meat surprise. We recommend the curry if you value your sense of taste. Diana raised an eyebrow. You're not making this easy for me. Rachel smirked. Neither is Army life, ma'am. The room went quiet. Diana nodded slowly, understanding the deeper meaning. Fair point. Let's see what keeps our heroes going. And just like that, the meal began. Diana tore open the ration pack with the same confusion most first-timers experienced. This feels like I'm opening a space mission meal, she joked, examining the brown foil packaging. Are you sure this is food? Private Mackenzie leaned over. You've got to heat it with the tablet, Your Royal Highness. Just add water, wait 10 minutes, and pray it works. Diana chuckled and followed the instructions as Rachel quietly observed. Around the table, soldiers stole glances, amazed at the sight of royalty struggling with a heating tablet just like everyone else. Finally, steam rose from the pouch. Diana carefully opened the hot packet of chicken curry and peered inside. She sniffed it with mock suspicion. Smells like determination. A pause, then she took her first bite. The room went completely silent. She chewed thoughtfully. Then, it's like my taste buds just enlisted. Everyone burst into laughter. Even Rachel couldn't help but smile. But then Diana's expression grew more serious. Honestly, though, I've eaten at banquets that didn't have half the thought that went into making this last for months, in any climate. Respect to whoever engineered this survival in a packet. Corporal Michael Harrison, sitting across the table, raised his hand. Ma'am, we just call it edible cardboard. Cardboard or not, Diana said, taking another bite. You all eat this to stay strong while serving our country. That makes it royal cuisine in my book. A hush fell over the room, then spontaneous applause. Rachel glanced around. Something had shifted. This wasn't a publicity visit. It was a genuine moment of connection. As Diana reached for the biscuits and jam, she asked, "So tell me, what's the real story behind these rations? Who decides what you eat when you're protecting us all?" Rachel cleared her throat. "That's a long story, Your Royal Highness, and partly why I wrote to you." Diana nodded. "Then I'm listening." And the real conversation began. Rachel leaned forward. "These rations aren't just about calories, ma'am. They're survival tools. Each one is designed to last 3 years, survive desert heat, jungle humidity, and Arctic cold. A small team works on them, nutritionists, food scientists, and veterans who test them in labs and in the field." Diana unwrapped a piece of chocolate. "I never thought about the people behind the packaging." Rachel nodded. "Most don't, but someone has to ensure soldiers stay nourished without a kitchen for miles and still feel a bit human while they're doing it." Private Mackenzie spoke up. "Honestly, ma'am, when you're cold and hungry in the middle of nowhere, even these dry biscuits feel like a hug from home." Diana looked around at the young faces. "How long have you all been serving?" Harrison raised his hand. 18 months, Your Royal Highness, fresh out of training." Diana smiled. 18 months of service is more than most people ever give. You've earned every bite of this delicious cardboard." More laughter, but then Rachel pulled something from her breast pocket. A faded photograph of a woman in military uniform. "My mother," she said softly, "Captain Eleanor Bradley. She served in the Falklands. Rations were her only meals for months." Diana's eyes focused on the photograph. "She's the reason you serve?" Rachel nodded. "She passed when I was 16. Heart attack, but she always told me, 'Feed the fighters, not the fear.' I suppose I took that literally." The room grew quiet. Diana held the photo gently. "She would be incredibly proud, and so am I." In that moment, laughter gave way to something deeper, a shared understanding that transcended rank, title, and background. Diana leaned back, her ration half finished. "Rachel, what's the hardest part of your job?" Rachel blinked, caught off guard. "You mean besides convincing hundreds of soldiers that powdered eggs are edible?" Gentle chuckles around the table. Diana pressed on. "No, really, the emotional side. What weighs on you?" Rachel paused, then said quietly, "Watching young soldiers deploy, knowing this food might be their last taste of home. You see them joke about the flavor, but you know some won't come back, and that packet of curry might be their final meal with mates." Mackenzie looked down. Harrison swallowed hard. Diana didn't speak for a long moment. Then she said softly, "Nobody tells you that when you're cutting ribbons and attending ceremonies." Rachel's voice grew gentle. "They should, ma'am." Diana nodded. "They really should." Outside, Yorkshire wind rustled through the trees. A distant helicopter hummed overhead. But inside, the silence was sacred. Finally, Diana turned to the group. "Do any of you write home? Letters, I mean." Harrison shrugged. "I try. My mum worries constantly." Diana smiled. "Mothers always do. My own mother used to say, 'No matter how grand the palace, write like you're still in the sitting room together.'" Rachel smiled. "That's beautiful." Diana looked around the table. "You're all writing a chapter of Britain's story. I'm privileged to share this page with you." And that's when a simple breakfast became an unforgettable memory. Diana looked down at her untouched packet of biscuits. "I'll be honest," she said. "I thought I'd come here, try military food, share a few laughs, and be on my way." Mackenzie grinned. "Ma'am, that's pretty much what we expected, too." Brief laughter, but it faded as Diana continued. "But sitting here, hearing about Rachel's mum, thinking about your families at home, it's much more than food. It's a reminder." "A reminder of what?" Rachel asked gently. "That freedom isn't served on a silver platter," Diana said. "It comes in brown packets, opened by people willing to sacrifice everything they know." The room stilled. "You all signed up knowing the cost. That takes more courage than most will ever show." Rachel watched as several soldiers looked away, hiding emotion. Diana noticed too. "But I want to say this as well. Courage isn't just facing danger or following orders. It's sitting here sharing this questionable curry, staying hopeful, and looking after each other. That's real leadership." Rachel felt tears forming. "I came expecting to share a meal," Diana continued. "Instead, I've shared something far more valuable. Honor." She picked up one of the biscuits and took a bite. "Though this still tastes like eating cardboard," she muttered with a smile. Tension broke instantly. Everyone laughed, including the officers standing at the back. In that laughter was released of pressure, of formality, of the barriers that usually separate royalty from soldiers. As the laughter died down, Diana turned to Mackenzie. "How long since you've been home, James?" "8 months, ma'am," he replied. "Missed my grand's birthday, my sister's graduation, and Christmas." Diana raised an eyebrow. Christmas, that's the hardest one. Yes, ma'am, got my presents by post. Mum sent photos of Christmas dinner, made me proper homesick. There was pride in his voice, but also longing. Rachel interjected gently. James sends most of his pay home. His dad's been out of work. Diana's expression softened. That's noble. Why? James looked down. Family comes first. Couldn't watch them struggle while I had steady pay. Diana reached into her handbag and pulled out a small silver pin. This belonged to my grandfather, she said, placing it in James's palm. King George VI Service Medal. I only give it to people who understand true service. James's eyes widened. His fingers closed around it carefully. The room fell silent again. Diana squeezed his shoulder. Your family's proud, but now you have something to remind you that your country is proud too. James nodded, too emotional to speak. Everyone witnessed it then. This wasn't about protocol or politics. It was about human connection. Diana leaned forward. Rachel, what's the absolute worst ration you've ever encountered? Rachel laughed. Oh, easy. The old beef stew from the 80s. Looked like dog food. Tasted worse. Harrison added. Don't forget the chicken supreme. Chicken was a generous term. The whole table erupted in laughter. Diana nodded seriously. I see. Culinary war crimes have been committed in the name of nutrition. Rachel smiled. But oddly, we miss them. When you're eating under the stars or in a bunker, even the worst rations become part of the story. Diana looked thoughtful. That says something profound. It does, Rachel agreed. Sometimes the worst meals come with the best memories. Diana tapped her half-empty curry packet. Then I'll treasure this forever. Mackenzie grinned. You're one of us now, Your Royal Highness. Diana raised her water bottle. Then let's toast. To cardboard biscuits, questionable curry, and the stories that matter. Everyone raised their bottles. To the meals that keep us going. They drank not to taste, but to connection. After breakfast, Rachel handed Diana a sealed envelope. What's this? She asked. A letter, Rachel replied, from one of our oldest veterans, Sergeant Major Patricia Wilmington. She's 94, served as a field nurse in Korea, and still writes to young soldiers. Diana opened it carefully. The handwriting was elegant but shaky. Dear Princess Diana, it read, if you ever share a meal with our young ones, please listen to their stories. Their bravery doesn't need speeches, just understanding, and remind them they are never forgotten. Patricia Wilmington, Royal Army Medical Corps, retired. Diana read it aloud. Nobody spoke afterward. She folded the letter carefully. This is exactly why I came, Rachel whispered. She'll be thrilled you read it. Diana smiled. I'd be honored to visit her personally. And a new plan began forming. Captain Rebecca Collins entered the mess hall then, a respected officer with 20 years' experience. Your Royal Highness, she said, saluting. I hope our hospitality hasn't scared you away. Diana grinned. Captain, I've survived state dinners. This was gourmet. Collins laughed. Rachel, you've worked miracles here. Rachel nodded toward her soldiers. They made it easy. Collins stepped forward. Ma'am, would you address the entire garrison before you leave? The troops would be deeply honored. Diana looked around the table. Only if these soldiers stand with me. Today I didn't lead, I learned. Rachel understood perfectly. Outside the mess hall, soldiers gathered near the flagpole. Diana stood beside Rachel, Mackenzie, Harrison, and the other soldiers from breakfast. No podium, just gravel and boots. I came here thinking I'd try army food and say thank you, Diana began. But I was wrong. She glanced at Rachel. I didn't just taste food today. I tasted dedication, sacrifice, and stories this nation must never forget. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. This isn't about politics or protocol. This is about people. She held up the empty ration packet. This packet represents more than nutrition. It represents character. Cheers broke out. Rachel felt tears in her eyes. Later that afternoon, Collins pulled Rachel aside. Sergeant, she said, handing her official papers. Effective immediately. You're promoted to staff sergeant. You've shown leadership beyond logistics. You've shown heart. Rachel's eyes widened. Ma'am, thank you. Diana approached and extended her hand. Staff Sergeant Rachel Bradley has a wonderful ring to it. Rachel shook her hand, beaming. Thank you, Your Royal Highness, for everything. Diana winked. Now promise me you'll improve that curry recipe. More laughter echoed across the garrison. As Diana prepared to leave, she walked to her convoy, surrounded by saluting soldiers. She turned back one final time. To Catterick Garrison, she called out. Thank you for feeding me far more than food. Then she stepped into the Range Rover and drove away into the Yorkshire countryside. Back in the mess hall, Mackenzie sat quietly, holding the silver pin. Rachel joined him. You all right? He nodded. I just never imagined someone like her would really listen, truly listen. Rachel smiled. Sometimes the most important conversations happen over the simplest meals. The next day, footage of Diana sharing army rations appeared on television. It spread across Britain like wildfire. Veterans from every generation commented. Families shared it with pride. She finally understands. One comment read,
At a care home in Devon, 94-year-old Patricia Wilmington watched the broadcast on a nurse's tablet. She wiped away a tear and whispered, "She read my words to them all." Her nurse smiled. "The whole country heard them, Patricia."
Inspired by the visit, Diana launched a new initiative called Service Stories, a program highlighting the human side of military life and honoring support staff like Rachel. It brought attention to often overlooked aspects of service. Soldiers at Catterick began receiving letters from school children, grandparents, and strangers. One note read, "Dear soldier, I saw your breakfast with Princess Diana. Thank you for being brave. I hope your food tastes better than my school lunch." 3 months later, Diana returned quietly, without fanfare. This time she brought her own ration pack and shared another meal with Rachel's team. This visit wasn't about publicity, it was about friendship. At the end of that meal, Diana stood and looked around. "I may never win medals for bravery," she said, "but I've had the honor of breaking bread with Britain's finest." Then she bit into another biscuit and grimaced dramatically. "Though these still taste like eating tree bark." Everyone collapsed in laughter. Tears streamed down Rachel's face as she laughed too hard to breathe. In that mess hall filled with laughter and tears, the story came full circle, not just of a princess eating army rations, but of what it means to sit, listen, and truly understand those who serve. Sometimes the most meaningful conversations happen over the most ordinary meals, and sometimes a simple challenge from a brave sergeant can change how royalty sees service forever.